Doing well with money isn't necessarily about what you know. It's about how you behave. And behavior is hard to teach, even to really smart people. We tend to think about investing in personal finance as a math-based field, where data, formulas, and spreadsheets tell us exactly what to do. But in the real world, people don't make financial decisions on a spreadsheet. They make them at the dinner table, or in a meeting room, where personal history, your unique view of the world, ego, pride, and odd incentives are scrambled together. That is why genius individuals can lose everything due to poor behavior, while ordinary folks with no financial education can build massive wealth simply by mastering their habits. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to dive deep into the absolute core lessons from one of the most transformative finance books of our generation, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. If you have been trying to figure out how to manage your wealth, why your savings aren't growing, or how to actually stay calm during market crashes, this video is for you. We are going to explore the psychological shifts you need to make to not just get rich, but to achieve true financial peace of mind. Let's break down the essential rules that will completely alter how you look at your bank account. To understand how people manage their money, you first have to realize that no one is crazy. Your personal experiences with money make up maybe a tiny fraction of what's happened in the world, but they represent about 80% of how you think the world works. A person who grew up during times of high inflation looks at investments completely differently than someone who grew up during a prolonged economic boom. If you came of age when the stock market was stagnant, you might avoid stocks entirely, while someone else sees them as a golden opportunity. None of these people are crazy, they are simply making decisions based on the unique blueprint their life has given them. When we look at the financial choices of others, instead of judging their logic, we need to understand their history. Next, let's talk about the silent partners in your financial life, luck and risk. They are cousins, driven by the exact same reality that every outcome in life is guided by forces other than individual effort. When Bill Gates went to Lakeside School, it was one of the only high schools in the world that had a computer. That was luck on a massive scale. At the same time, his close friend Kent Evans shared the same talent but tragically died in a mountaineering accident before graduating. That was risk on a massive scale. Nothing is as good or as bad as it looks. When you succeed, remember to humble yourself and acknowledge luck. When you fail, extend yourself some grace, because risk is a mathematical reality of trying anything meaningful. This brings us to a major pitfall in modern society: knowing when you have enough. Housel shares the tragic stories of multimillionaires and billionaires who had everything they could ever need, yet risked it all because they wanted even more. The hardest financial skill, by far, is getting the goalposts to stop moving. If your expectations rise right along with your income, you will never actually feel wealthy. You will find yourself trapped in a never-ending cycle of comparison. Social comparison is a battle that no one can win because the ceiling is simply too high. The only way to win is to accept that you might have enough, even if it's less than the person next to you. Let's look at the secret weapon of the truly wealthy: confounding compounding. Think about Warren Buffett. Most people know he is incredibly wealthy, but few realize that over 90% of his wealth was accumulated after his 50th birthday. He didn't just get high returns, he got consistent returns over a massive span of time. Compounding works like a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, the gains look small, almost unnoticeable. But if you give it decades, the math turns into something completely mind-boggling. The lesson here is that you don't need to find the highest yielding, riskiest investment every single year. You just need to find a good investment that you can stick with for the longest uninterrupted period of time. Time is the engine that drives true wealth. But to let compounding do its magic, you must understand that getting rich and staying rich are two entirely different skills. Getting rich requires taking risks, optimism, and putting yourself out there. It requires a certain level of boldness. But staying rich? Staying rich requires the exact opposite. It requires humility, a healthy dose of fear that what you made could be taken away just as fast, and a total reliance on frugality. You must accept that a portion of your success was due to luck, so you cannot rely on past wins to guarantee future outcomes. Survival is the ultimate financial strategy. Being able to stay in the game without going broke during market downturns is what separates successful long-term investors from those who lose it all. Another fascinating concept Housel introduces is the idea that you can be wrong half the time and still make a fortune. This is known as a tail event. In finance, a tiny percentage of events drive the vast majority of outcomes. Think about an index fund. A handful of extraordinary companies drive almost all the returns, while the rest perform average or go under. The same applies to your personal portfolio. You don't need to be right with every single investment choice. What matters is how much money you make when you are right, compared to how much you lose when you are wrong. Accepting that failure is a normal part of the process allows you to stay calm when individual investments don't pan out. Ultimately, what is the point of all this saving and investing? The answer leads us to the highest form of wealth: controlling your time. The ultimate value of money isn't buying fancy cars, luxury watches, or massive houses to impress people you don't even like. The ultimate value of money is the ability to wake up every single morning and say, "I can do whatever I want today." Doing what you want, when you want, with whom you want, for as long as you want, provides the highest dividend that exists in personal finance. True wealth isn't about what you buy, it's about the options and flexibility it grants your daily life. Housel notes a funny paradox about expensive things: no one is impressed by the person driving the luxury car, they are only imagining themselves in that car. We use wealth as a signal to show others that we should be liked and admired. But in reality, people look past you and focus entirely on the object. If respect and admiration are your goals, be careful how you seek them. Humility, kindness, and empathy will gain you far more genuine respect than horsepower ever will. So, how do we build this wealth? The simplest answer is also the most overlooked: just save money. Past a certain income level, what you need is just what sits below your ego. When you define savings as the gap between your ego and your income, you realize you can build wealth without a high investment return or a massive salary. Saving money gives you options. It gives you the hidden capital to wait for a better job opportunity, to take a break when you're burnt out, or to buy an asset when everyone else is panic selling. You don't need a specific reason to save. Save just for the sake of saving, because the flexibility it buys you in an unpredictable world is priceless. Finally, when making your financial plan, aim to be reasonable rather than completely rational. A rational plan works perfectly on paper, assuming you have no emotions and never panic. But you are a human being. A reasonable plan accounts for your flaws. It accounts for the fact that you want to sleep peacefully at night, even if it means holding a bit more cash than a mathematical model suggests. Being reasonable keeps you disciplined, and discipline is what allows compounding to work its long-term magic. At the end of the day, finance is far less about the math and much more about the psychology of your daily choices. Which of these rules resonated with your personal journey the most? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep insights into wealth and behavior. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.